Hey everybody, thank you for tuning in as always. My name's Francesca Fattore and I'm a UK ex-female prisoner, and tonight we are talking obviously about prisons, but if you'd like to introduce yourself.
I'm Corinne Hodkinson and I've got a YouTube channel, The True Crime Whisperer, and yeah, we're going to be discussing a topic that's come up in the news lately.
So guys, you're going to be seeing this on both our channels, so if you're on either one, please hit the subscribe button, show your support. We'd be very grateful to both of us, and hop over to each other's channel because we do quite a lot of work together. So this evening we're covering the topic of the prisons, potentially letting prisoners out, well, low crime prisoners out 60 days early from prison. What do you think about that?
I think the thing is, right, and I know it would have been the same when you were in there. They're so short on staff and spaces. It's unbelievable. Like, that's why a lot of the days, even though it wasn't COVID lockdown anymore, would be locked up for like 23 hours a day. And they'd be like, well, we haven't got any staff to watch the wing. So they would literally just lock us behind the doors. And I think if they spend some money on reforming prisoners, helping them change their life, instead of just chucking them back to the streets, a lot of them don't have homes or family, and they're obviously going to go out and then they commit more crimes and come back in. So if they put the effort into reforming prisoners, there'd probably be more room in prison in the first place. They wouldn't have to let people out early. What do you think?
Yeah. No, I totally agree with you on that one. And not only that, how about not putting the low crime people in prison that have family, that have children, that actually need that little bit of help before they actually land up in prison? Maybe if they didn't throw such big sentences. I mean, okay, 6 months is not a big sentence, but it can be for shoplifting for the fourth time. Like, is shoplifting really that much of a crime when potentially a woman could have children at home she needs to feed, or potentially they could have a drug habit? Okay, so you might think, well, they're drug users, they should be in prison, but why are they drug users? I come across so many women in prison that had been essayed by their family, strangers. There's always a story for everybody, and this is just so overlooked, and they just think, oh, you're not learning your lesson, I'm going to send you to prison, when they could look at actually what support they need rather than prison.
Yeah, 100% agree. And also they need to have more mental health teams and stuff outside. Like, if they helped people with mental health in the first place, get to the root cause of addiction and the root cause of crime, because there are some horrible people and they will commit crime, whatever, and that's just the way their mind is. But a lot of people are in prison, they are in there because something's happened to them that's triggered their life to go like in a terrible like downhill spiral. And yes, a lot of, like, for me, I needed to go to prison. I did something that was wrong. I regret it. But what led me to that point, like when I went to the hospital, I'm not trying to make this all about me, I'm just using it as an example.
Oh, yeah,
when I went to the hospital, it's not about me, it's the me show. I went to the hospital and I begged for help, and they said, if you're not hearing voices, we can't help you. And they sent me away, even though I said I'm a danger to myself and others. All the things that happened after that, which I nearly didn't make it, let's just say that, could have been prevented if, when I cried for help, I was helped. And I'm sure this is the same with a lot of women and men that are trying to get help. So if they put funding into the mental health teams outside of prison and reforming prisoners that are in prison, it will stop the vicious cycle of people coming in and out, in and out. Then they could keep the prison spaces for the real crimes, the people that really need to be kept away from the general public. Sorry.
No, 100%. I mean, just in case there's anyone new in the channel, do you just want to clarify what you went to prison for? You don't have to go in, because people can look back and guys, watch the videos based on me or Corinne, and you can see the full story. But just in case they are new to the channel, what was you in for?
So I won't go into too much detail because it'll take forever. I was in a domestic abuse situation. I have a lot of mental health problems, and I had a nervous breakdown. I would harm myself, and then when the police would come, I would lash out. So I got 6 weeks for an incident that happened with my ex-partner, even though it's hard. So I was the one that was labelled the domestic abuser, even though it was the other way around, and I was just reacting to the situation, if that makes sense. And then I did, which I do regret, hit a police officer, and that's what I went to prison for. Yeah, and then I got in some fights in bars and stuff. But obviously, after I come out of prison, I stopped drinking and to manage to turn my life around, which I'm just really lucky that I come out of it, because a lot of people don't.
No, you should be really proud of yourself. I'm really sorry. I don't know if you can hear loads of noise. My neighbours are round upstairs really bad, and they do it all the time. So sorry. Okay,
I can't hear anything.
Right. So I went to prison for conspiracy to supply Class A drugs. I served 3 years, 8 months behind bars. Don't need to go into any more than that. Back, totally deserved to go to prison. Best thing that ever happened to me, guys. And that's how we have a bit of experience on being able to talk about this topic tonight. So when I was actually in prison, they was talking about it during lockdown. They was talking about, or it might have been just before. I can't quite 100. They're so loud. Sorry, it's really distracting me.
I can't hear anything.
So yeah, sorry. It's literally. Do you know what the worst thing is? Is because sometimes, guys, and I know you're all probably watching this and thinking, "What the hell's going on?" But sometimes you kind of, I go quiet because I think you just don't know what's like if something bad's going to happen. Yeah. Obviously, we've been there. We've been to prison. You've been in domestic relationships. And this is how people land up in prison, start screaming, fighting, and they defend themselves, and then, like you say. And it's not always the female, the male gets abused as well. But anyway, let's get back to the topic.
It gets out of control, doesn't it?
Yeah. So, yeah, I totally deserve to go to prison. Yeah, that's kind of it. Oh, yeah. So when we was in prison, I can't remember if it was just before lockdown or in lockdown. They spoke about this before, and nothing happened. So you had to be so far away from the end of your sentence. So I can't remember if it was like 6 months towards the end of your sentence to be legible, and it had to be like a low key crime. So I would have been legible if this had actually been put into place. So in all honesty, I don't think it's going to happen. This is not the first time that it's come around.
And it's coming up to election time. So people are throwing all these ideas out there to try and sway people into wanting to vote for them.
But do you think people are really going to want to vote for people that are going to release people early from prison? You think about the kind of people that vote, and they're not for criminals. They're not for believing in people like me and yourself that can change and turn their life around. They're not down for it. So if anything, this would actually cause a big uproar. I think people don't agree, and I think that. I don't hold me to it, but I think that might have been what stopped it before. But yeah, you had to be so far from your sentence as well. Like I said, I'm going to have to, well, it's going to be too late when I find out. But yeah, you had to be so far from the end of your sentence to be released.
Think because mine was violent crime, do you think that they would have said no to me?
Yeah, no, it was because was you high risk in prison?
No, I was allowed to share a cell.
Yeah, but they didn't really care in Bronzefield, did they?
It's true. There was that's so true, actually, now I think about it. Yeah.
Normally for fighting, you're down as a high risk because they say that you're violent. So you wouldn't have got it, yeah.
But do you know what? The reason I got such a low sentence was because of I'm not going to go my whole life story, but the judge did take into consideration everything that had happened to me from young all the way up to the point that led me there. Not that that's an excuse for my behaviour, because I was just doing what had been done to me to others, which is wrong. Like lashing out is wrong. But I do believe if there was more help with mental health, half of the women that are in there wouldn't be there. Because a lot of the time they don't have places in the hospitals, and I'm not talking about me in this situation, but other women, they like you've experienced that, haven't you, where women have been in prison and they've said, well, there's nowhere for them else, like nowhere else for them to go.
Yeah, I mean, I had it firsthand to an officer to me because I couldn't understand, and she said when the mental health hospital beds are full, she said they just throw them in prison because they can't be on the street. And obviously, I turned around and said a minute ago, you had to be so far into your sentence. Obviously, you had to be 60 days away, because otherwise you
Yeah.
wouldn't get the 60 days release. I mean, do you think this is a good thing? Do you think it's a bad thing? What do you honestly think?
I just think they're going about it in the wrong way. I think there's better ways to solve the problem
I mean,
than just
me being,
releasing early. Like, they need
yeah,
to stop people from coming back, because they were giving out tents for homeless people that were leaving prison. They were giving them tents and then expecting them not to come back, or they were putting him in Elizabeth Fry. They were putting them in there, and then they were getting kicked out and coming getting recalled straight away. And the amount there was at least 4 or 5 people that went to Elizabeth Fry, and then they were back within the month. Within the month, they were back.
The problem you got, right, is I know quite a few girls that have been to Elizabeth Fry, and they were ex-users, and they got clean and they got given a flat 6 months later, some of them longer. Now, I do think not everybody, I'm not going to say everybody, because some people are weaker than others and they can't, but sometimes it's a cop-out excuse, because that's the tale that I heard over and over again when it says towel on the bottom of the word, but I said it's a tale that I heard. I'm looking at the words coming across the bottom of the screen. So, you know, it's something that I heard, and you think that was 2 years prior to you going in and you hearing it. Now, if you want to get clean and you want to get out and you want to do it, you're going to do it. Wherever you go, all the hostels are full of alcohol and drugs. Like, you're never going to avoid that. It's just Elizabeth Fry is the main one that all the girls normally get released to. So it's the main one you always hear the horror stories about. But I'm not saying it's not true for some people, but then that's because they're not ready to get clean. They're not, they're not, everybody, being an ex-user myself, you have to be ready. You have to be ready. No one can help you. No, the more you get acted by your family or friends or anything like that, the more you're gonna rebel against it. You have to be the one that wakes up one day and going, you know what, enough is enough. And it doesn't matter what environment you're in, because you remember, I was still in the drug world, you know, and I got off shit. So it's just down to you and you being strong enough. And some people just aren't. And that, but the thing is you need to just say, you know what, I wasn't ready. I got out, I wasn't ready. There was too much in there, but it's no one's fault to blame but myself.
Yeah.
You don't get kicked out of somewhere for no reason.
Yeah, I mean, I never went there, so I have no idea what it's like. That's just what people would say.
It's full of drugs. It is rough, but you've got your own room, and you don't just get kicked out for doing what you're supposed to do. So so for me, it's you're better off just being like, the first step is going, you know what, I went there, it was riddled with stuff, I wasn't ready, I fucked up, but it is what it is. I was too weak to go into an environment like that. But it's not, it's like Elizabeth Fry, it's a shell, it's their fault. Do you know what I mean? So and that's not everybody. Like I said, some people just don't have the willpower. Not everybody is strong. And it's tough, and you're lonely, you get in with people, you talk to people, and then you're just stuck in that situation, and before you know it, you're kicked out because you're doing a positive drug test. But I 100% agree with you. I mean, I think it's a brilliant thing that if they let people out early, for the people that have family and friends, I think they do it the right way. The low key crimes, shoplifting, why would you not? Drug dealing is not a low, like, it's not like it, it's not, I wouldn't say it's a low crime, but in the aspect of the way they look at it is, you're not beating somebody up, you're not an actual threat to the public, even though you are doing damage to the public. Like shoplifting, fraud, you're not a threat, you're not a high risk.
And there's so many girls in there for fraud.
So many, and older women. How many 50, 60-year-olds did you meet in there for fraud?
And they'd look like school teachers and stuff a lot of the time. Like, you would never think. You'd never think. But what got me sober is my daughter ran away and came back to me and said, I'm not leaving, refused. And the social services said, right, we'll give you a chance. And that was it. I was like, I'm not drinking again. because the reason
Oh,
I was
wow.
drinking is because I lost everything. So I couldn't cope. It was like the pain that I felt, even though my kids were alive and well, I felt like I was grieving like somebody had died. That's how it felt when they got taken. So I was being abused, and then I lost my kids, and I already had underlying mental health problems. And
Sorry. Sorry. Sneezing.
That's all right.
Thank you.
It literally was like I was in so much emotional pain, I couldn't bear to be sober. And then that drinking and taking stuff would then make my mental health even worse. And then I wouldn't take my medication. And then it was just a vicious cycle. And then I was lashing out, and it was just awful. But once my daughter come back and I saw light at the end of the tunnel, I managed to stop. But they said, because my other child, one of my other children, they're looking at getting them back, coming back to me. And they said, like, there's only like 2% of people who have their children taken that manage to get them back, which is really sad, isn't it?
That's so low. I mean, you should be so proud of yourself, no matter what the percentage is, because that's
I had to cut off everybody. And I miss my old best friend so much. I really miss her. But we had a falling out, and I'm not going to go into detail about it because I don't want to say anything bad about her, because I do still love and care for her. But I had to cut off everyone that I used to hang around with, because I knew that I'd get tempted. Not because no one made me do it, but if I was around the drink and around like the party. Yeah, so I had to cut everyone out. And that's the key, I think, to recovery, is you have to literally take yourself out of everything. But once my daughter come back, I thought it was like literally, I thought, oh my God, this is my chance. Like, I've got a chance here. Whereas before I just felt desperate and empty and lost. I felt like I didn't even know who I was anymore. It was the worst. I never, ever want to feel like that again. And I wouldn't wish that feeling on anybody. It was awful. Sorry, I just made it really depressing.
I can imagine. No, but it's, people need to understand, like, people's story. People think that prisoners are all scum, and they don't understand that every prisoner has a story, and they are the way they are for a reason. There's a lot of things in my life. I'm very, very good at, it's everyone else's fault but mine. And it's not sort of till you grow as a person, and because of prison, and someone taught me a lot about myself as well in a relationship. We do make choices. I could have been better. I could have done a lot of things different. But also, there's issues. There's trauma bonds that, traumas. There's traumas, there's this, there's that, and there's a reason why I got on drugs when I was a kid. I blocked certain things out, whatever, but people don't understand that. They just think that you did this, like I've said before, I didn't wake up one day and go, I'm going to be a drug dealer this morning. Yeah. I'm going to make loads of money. It never happened like that. It never happened. It was an accident, believe it or not, it was an accident. And I've explained it, quite numerous times. So, if anyone's watching this that's new, just check out other videos, or you've actually interviewed me on your channel, so people can see that. It's there's a lot more to life, people's lives. They don't just, not everybody chooses a life of crime. Some people do it. Some people grow into an age and go, I want to be rich, I want to make money, and I don't want to work. That's not how it happened for me. Yes, once I got off drugs, I was liking the lifestyle. I was addicted to the lifestyle. I was already in deep. So thank God I got caught. And here I am today.
Imagine if you hadn't. Do you reckon you'd still be doing it?
100%. 100%.
Everything
100%. Yeah. And I didn't get caught until the right time in my life. Because I've said before, I would have been in and out of prison. I'd have been that revolving door, because my dark days were fucking dark in prison, but the good days outweighed the bad because of the little family that I built in there, and we got each other through it. So it's not as scary as you actually think it's going to be. And me being the arsehole that I was when I was younger, I'd have just been ruthless, and I wouldn't have given a shit. Once I've been in prison once, I'd be like, yeah, and I would have thought I was a badass. I would have thought I was a badass, and I'd have been in and out, and I'd have been an animal as a prisoner, and I wouldn't have been, I wasn't a great person back then. I still had a good heart, but I just didn't care, at the same time. Like, if you wasn't family or friends, and I didn't give a shit. Like, so I definitely would have been still doing it if I never got caught.
Yeah, and like you said, in prison, like, you get each other through it. It is like a sense of community in there. It's like a world inside another world. Like, you make like a little community of people. Obviously, you have to be very careful because some people like stab you in the back, but you do make connections in there. And it is sad when one of them leaves, or like, moves to another like part of the prison, or like gets shipped out, and like it makes you feel down, but you do get each other through it. And there was some really horrible days. Like, I just thought, oh my God, what's happened? How have I ended up here? And the first day when I got in there and they put me in the cell, it was dead quiet. But it was already bang up. Everyone was asleep. It must have been about 8 o'clock by the time they took me to A wing. And they put me in this cell, and the toilet, and I didn't check the toilet because it was the first time I'd ever been in there. It was blocked full of crap. Oh. Absolutely. And they wouldn't move me for 48 hours. 48 now, if I went in there now, I would go, they'll move me, because I would make their lives a misery. But because I was fresh in, and I didn't want everyone to be mad at me, it's intimidating. Like, I could, like, I stand up for myself, but it was intimidating, I'm not gonna lie. And I was like, I can't like kick and scream in the middle of like night when everyone's asleep. So I just put up with it. It was really, really bad. And that's when I sat on the bed in this like tiny like cell and thought, oh my God, what have I done? And that's when reality hit me, because it's just a surreal feeling. But I think it is good if they let me, because the thing is as well, if you go in and you've got a council flat or whatever, or you're renting from someone, you go into prison for a short sentence, say 6 months to a year, boom, your property's gone. You can't pay the rent. And then they're out. Then the person gets left like to go like to a hostel or whatever, and then they're even more in a state because the only thing that they had left has been taken. I'm very lucky.
No, I'm saying if they're lucky, like if they're lucky to get out to a hostel, if not, they're going in a tent.
I know,
like,
it's madness, isn't it?
It's not a myth, it happens. It's true. Isn't the first night in prison the most scariest night ever?
The toilet just did it for me.
I'm not gonna lie, I was petrified. I was just like, what am I going to come out to in the morning?
Yeah,
it's the unknown.
You've only seen stuff on TV.
I mean, honestly, but then, like you adapt. Like then it becomes home, and that is my world, and there's no other world other than that world. And like when someone real close to me would go home, it was heartbreaking because it was like a piece of my home had gone home.
Yeah.
I never remember when I came out and I started work 2 weeks after getting out, and I walked in and I had the most anxiety ever, and I just wanted to go back to prison. In my head, I wanted back in prison. I didn't want to be there because I'd walked into someone else's home, so I knew my boss, but all the rest of them all knew, and I didn't know them, and these weren't my family, they weren't my friends, and I didn't know how to cope. My brain couldn't cope with lockdown, and it's mad. And it was like for so long, honestly, it was a good couple of years. I literally would daydream about prison, about like when it was easy in there.
So because you was in there a lot longer than I was, so you found it a bit hard to adjust back into.
It took me a good 2 years to start finding my feet, a real good 2 years. And I think the last 3 years I've been out, I feel like I've had more mental health or had more bad days than what I had when I was in prison.
That's crazy, isn't it? And I'm expecting there's a lot of people that feel like that. And I wasn't even in. I was in there for like just under 6 months, I think it was, roundabout, because I went in and came out and then went back. It's been a pain in the ass. But anyway, even when I come out, and I hadn't even been in there that long, like even still, my showers are about 3 minutes long, because when you're in there and there's people waiting outside with their buckets. And you have to push the thing on, and it's cold, and then there's all disgusting pubes and stuff everywhere, and you're wearing these bloody sliders. And my daughter, and I said to my daughter the other day, I was like, "Why are you so long in the shower?" And because someone's in my garden. Oh my God, my heart just stopped.
Let the dog out there.
She never does that. Sorry. I'm so sorry.
It's all right. It feels like we're on a live. So guys, normally everyone will be chatting away to me, but now I don't have anyone to talk to. So this is our first pre-recorded video that we've done together. She's gonna have a meltdown now. Imagine if something happens, she don't come back.
Sorry.
Oh no, there she is. This is when you see it, like someone in a mask behind you. Don't turn around.
Sorry, she never does that. That's why it freaked me out.
Don't turn around. Don't turn around. No, don't look behind you.
Why?
Like literally, do not look behind you.
There's nothing there. Why?
There's someone behind you. It looks like there's someone behind you.
Stop.
Look, it's you. Look round.
You prick. I started thinking it was a ghost.
Oh, sorry.
I thought you could see something in the camera. I watched too many.
I was taking a big it's your poster behind you.
She's still growling. She never does that. Sorry, I completely ruined what we were talking about.
You haven't ruined nothing, because you know what the biggest joke is? This is us. Like, whether we're on the camera or off, so we're on the camera, obviously, whether we're doing a live or not doing a live, it's just natural. Why can't we have a laugh? It doesn't have to be dead serious all the time. This would not be natural to our viewers if you hadn't got up and done something.
That's true, yeah.
And
that is true. I can't even remember what I was saying now, but that's
I don't know either.
She never growls unless someone's trying to get in or trying to get like round the back garden. So that's what freaked me out.
It could just be a cat's jumped over and she's heard the cat.
Yeah, it could be a fox. Yeah, okay. I'm just panicking.
Don't be silly. Well, you've got her there anyway to protect you.
Yeah, that's true.
You're still shitting yourself, aren't you?
It's the thought of the unknown. It's only because I've got people in my past that I don't want turning up, you know? I won't go into too much detail. So it freaks me out if I think someone's around the back garden. Because I've got a big fence there and a gate, so like someone wouldn't just not like you accidentally go and someone's gone, but they'd have to literally get over the fence. But
ninja shit. They're flying over.
I'm glad I've got the dog because obviously like it's just me and my daughter here at the moment, and like I can fight, but if someone gets in the middle of the night, I'd rather it be me and the dog than just me.
Yeah, you know that. To be fair, you don't need to be fighting anyway, do you? You don't need to be going.
No, but if someone breaks in, it's fair game. Like you have to protect yourself. But
yeah, 100%.
But sorry, what was we saying?
I don't know. I think we're gonna like wrap it up there because I think look, see, we don't even need you viewers to go off track. We've done it ourselves.
Yeah, we were doing well until she started growling.
No, mate, listen, it's been brilliant. I think this is really good. So guys, drop a comment. Tell us what your views are on being released from prison 60 days early. I don't think it's going to happen. I don't believe it's going to happen. Heard it before. First hand in prison, never happened, unless it really is getting to the point where it's so overpopulated. But this happened before, so we will see.
I don't think it will happen. I think it's a good thing if it's somebody with low crime that isn't a danger.
It would never be high risk. Never.
No,
it would never happen.
But they need to do something because they literally don't even have enough staff to let people out of their cells. Like 23 hours a day is a long time to be locked up, especially when it goes on for like 3 or 4 days. And it wasn't like COVID lockdown when I was in there. So they had the only reason that they would give is they didn't have enough staff. And it's just so packed in there. Like, I don't think the staff's got to do with how many women there are, because at the end of the day, whether the cells are full or not, they've got to be one to each wing. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? So that's not really the case. But the girls getting shipped out all the time is because of the turnaround of women coming into the prison. But I mean, Send, when I left, actually, to be fair, they had like 100 beds or something, or there was only half the capacity, but they did then shut down E&F, which was 80 women.
So ENF, they all had, whoever's left on there had to move up to main block because they condemned the building.
Yeah.
So that
Why
could
did
have
they do that again? Because it was getting old.
yeah, so they're basically made out of like wood, like they're wooden
Yes, I
things,
remember
and
saying.
they were just screwed. They were condemned years ago, but the prison never done anything about it. So, for example, if one of us, if say the ceiling decided to fall down, like one of the tiles or whatever, we could sue for so much money because the building's been condemned. Once condemned, you're not supposed to be living there. It's not safe. So,
have they knocked that bit down then?
I don't know if they've knocked it down, but they were talking about rebuilding like a lifers bit down in the garden. So I don't know. I don't speak to anybody in Sen now, so I don't know.
We'll have to one day go and do a little tour of the outside of prisons. That would be
we're 100%. We'll jump on that, but we'll wrap this up. We'll stop recording and stay there. Okay. So yeah, thank you guys for tuning in. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you. And if you're not
subscribe.
If you're not subscribed to me and Fran, please go and subscribe. Obviously, Fran's UK ex-female prisoner, Francesca Fattore, and I'm the true crime whisperer. So yeah, and we've also got other social medias. Fran, you've got a Facebook group, haven't you?
Yeah, you've got Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, TikTok.
All Twitter. Our links will be on our YouTube thing, under our YouTube thing. So yeah, thank you for having me on again.
No, thank you for joining me. So this, like we said, it's going on both our channels anyway. So thank you guys for tuning in as always.
Bye.